Hello everyone. As of the time this video comes out, Fire Emblem Engage will be 5 days away from releasing. And although there's been plenty of coverage on the game already, I just want to list off some stuff I want from the game that already hasn't been announced. But since the game hasn't come out yet, this is going to be a shorter video, as I don't really want to ramble on about this game that hasn't been released yet, since I probably would if given the opportunity, but I still do want to talk about the game pre-release. If you enjoyed the video here today, remember to like and subscribe for more Fire Emblem content in the future. Without any further ado, here is 7 things I want out of Fire Emblem Engage. First off, the big new feature of Fire Emblem Engage is the ability to summon heroes from across the Fire Emblem series. Although they're already confirmed as gameplay features, the impact on the story that they'll have is unknown. Though I'm pretty sure, based on looking at the game's cover art, that Marth at least will play a pretty big role in the story, but the roles of the other emblems is currently unknown. If I had to choose the way I want them to be implemented, I would like them to play a pretty significant role in the story, but I don't want them to be basically the main characters. I want the original characters to get the focus. Because at the end of the day, as important as they are to the games they come from, they're really just equipable items for the player to use. Although if I had to predict, I'm guessing they'll probably only be used in support conversations, or bonding, which is a more accurate term for the emblems, and as a collectible to receive, as basically the entire premise of the game is go get all the emblem rings. This next one's kind of a smaller one that I want, and is probably not even going to happen due to the emblem rings being in the game, but the thing I liked about 3 houses was the battalions you could do. You could increase movement and stuff like that. I would like battalions to make a return. Battalions made low turn count runs that I used to do for fun a lot more interesting, as there's things like Dance of the Goddess, which lets you move again, and Stride, which makes you go really far, which made going to the end of the map a breeze. Now this next one's rather obvious, but I would like an engaging story out of Fire Emblem Engage. Now, I would normally just have this be a given, but I want to bring it up here, given that the game will only have one route instead of multiple. Now, I'm not saying that multiple endings are the best way to go, I'm definitely not saying that, but one of my favorite parts about Fire Emblem 3 Houses was the multiple paths of the different lords that helped you round out the world and see their different perspectives. Based on what I've seen from the trailers, Fire Emblem Engage also seems to be going for a more simple approach, with the main premise just being go get the emblem rings. Now, I'm not saying the story's going to end up being simple, but if it is simple, I want it to be well done. Again, that's rather obvious, but for me personally, story and lore are some of my favorite parts of the video games. So, if as long as the story makes sense and works well, I'll be happy. Really, I just want the game to have the appropriate level of seriousness. I want the game to take itself seriously, but since the art style is what it is, I wouldn't want the game being like a Majora's Mask level. The next thing I want is a lot of map variety. 3 Houses did have quite a bit of maps, but I would just like a little bit more in Engage. Another thing within the variety I would like is a lot of different elemental interactions. Like, one of my favorite maps in 3 Houses was the final Battle of Crimson Flower, where you had to move around but not getting burned by the ground beneath you, which is on fire. Or like in a different tactical game I played called Triangle Strategy, where in one of the maps, which is my favorite, it was a bunch of water on the ground. If you stepped in it, you were at a disadvantage for a warlock with a lightning ability who could do a ton of damage and freeze you. 3 Houses did have quite a bit of variety, but I just like a little bit more since a lot of it was just going to a point so that reinforcements wouldn't come in. Along with other stuff such as beating an enemy within a time limit, or one of my favorite objectives in that game, killing all the enemies with crest stones so you can get better rewards for keeping them all safe. Just things like that would make the maps in Engage even more interesting. Since Engage seems to be going more of a combat-oriented focus rather than 3 Houses, which kind of had a more social focus. At least based on what I've seen in the trailers. A problem I had with Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes is that the main character Shez was really overpowered. Yes, I get that main characters need to be the most overpowered since you're the one controlling them, but Shez, in my opinion, went a little too far. Essentially, you didn't really need to control any other character unless they were one of your favorites or something. Obviously, since 3 Hopes was a hack and slash and Engage is a tactical RPG, I'm not really too worried on this front. A power level similar to Byleth in 3 Houses would be perfect, as he was very powerful and he had high defense, but he was never immune from dying. Especially if you ran into a character like Lysithea or the Death Knight. So to recap, I'd rather have a Lear have a Byleth level of power compared to a Shez level of power. Replayability is one of the best aspects of Fire Emblem 3 Houses. The different routes and all the different endings you can get for the characters meant that there's a ton of replayability, which is largely the reason I have 400 hours in that game. This is merely conjecture as the game has not released yet, but since the game is only going to have one route, I really hope there's other parts that make it replayable. The Samuel looks pretty cool. Looks like this game's take on the monastery in 3 houses, and with tons of mini games and the feature to build your own map, it definitely could be very replayable in that aspect. Especially with the map builder, because I expect they'll probably put a decent chunk of time into that, but I guess we shall see when it comes out. Oh, and I guess a playable Danny DeVito would be pretty cool too. Thanks for watching. Very cautiously optimistic for when Engage comes out this Friday. Cautiously, because although there's tons of things that I like that they're adding, there's also a few that I'm not that I'm kind of worried about. But I'll cover that when I do a video about it next month. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all next time.